Good afternoon, folks. I think this is like one of the first videos I've actually filmed in the afternoon. Today is a good day. The weather has finally improved. It's like 13-14 degrees, which is absolutely ideal, especially for a hike. It's quiet, which is awesome as well, because this is an afternoon hike and usually trails are a lot more busy. Despite that, it's been so quiet. Saw some deer already, but never get the chance to film them because as soon as they see you, they just start off, you know? Amazing trail, gonna go for a nice hike and then eat some lunch. Then I have an important topic I'd like to discuss with you. So I'll leave a timestamp if you guys want to jump ahead specifically to the main topic of this video. You guys can do that. Otherwise, you can just follow me for the hike. I realize it's been a long time since my last video. You know, I would like to post more frequently, more often, but you know, life gets in the way. It gets hectic. I haven't been able to get out here as much as I'd like to, you know, and it just makes me reminded that being out here is such a gift. It is such a pleasure. It is such an enjoyable experience. You know, if it was up to me, I'd be out here every day. Though that's just not really practical. So coming out here when I can. Oh my gosh. Y'all see that? That beautiful deer just stared at me. Hey bud. What a gorgeous animal. Absolute treasure. I don't think I've ever seen deer in the afternoon. I always see them at morning or at dusk, right? When no one else is around. But I'm not complaining. I always appreciate it. You know, I know there's some places you can go around and you can see them all the time. But, well, at least where I hike, I wouldn't say it's as common. I wanted to eat lunch further along the trail, you know, where there was some nicer views, but I had a light breakfast, and I've been absolutely starving. Had to gotta get some food in me. Gotta have lunch now. Got some pasta and sausage today.
Kind of cheating today. I made a pasta at home. I don't know, I just haven't gone grocery shopping yet. Didn't want to make a whole meal from scratch out here today, considering I am going for like a longer hike. Some nice tea too. You know, I'm literally just parked out in the middle of the trail, sitting on some rock on the side. Oh, and it's the best. It's relaxing. Man, that tea is delicious. All right. I wanted to talk about anger with you guys, specifically how to overcome it or how to respond to it. In my life, I used to have pretty bad anger management control. Used to get very angry and not respond to it in a good way at all. But I have learned a lot, and I have came, I'd say, pretty far away over the last few years. And I kind of want to discuss about how potentially some of you guys can as well, right? I don't want to say that, you know, I don't get angry anymore. Like, that's obviously not true. But how I respond to anger is significantly better than how I used to. And I'd say a big part of that comes from the Bible and growing in my faith. That is really where I found, I'd say, the answer to properly reacting and responding to moments of anger. I want you guys to know there's really two types of anger: righteous anger and unrighteous anger. So righteous anger, that's more just. That's getting angry at things like, you know, cruelty, selfishness, injustice. Anger is a right response, is the right response to things like this. Perfect example people like to draw to when they think of righteous anger is Jesus in the temple in Jerusalem when there's a marketplace set up there. And he is angry. He is righteously angry, right? And he responds to this anger in a way that is also just, right? That's the next important thing. Just because you can be righteously angry does not mean you're allowed to respond to it in an unrighteous way. You know, Jesus's response of anger came from seeing the injustice being done to his father's house, right? The rampant greed that was happening within the temple. So a good way to look at this is in Peter's first letter. He says this: "For even to this were you called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps, who do no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who, when he was reviled, reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judges righteously. For who his own self bore our sins in his own body on the tree, that we, being dead to sins, should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes you were healed." You know, and this passage tells us exactly what we need to hear. When people revile against us, we should not revile back. Jesus never responded in anger in the sense of an eye for an eye, bringing harm to another. You know, you can't ever respond in that way. Though for this video, I wanted to focus more on unrighteous anger. It's something we experience much more frequently within our lives. How I want to help you is something that I kind of used to help me overcome my anger a bit. And it's to not stop being angry in general. That's unrealistic, it's impractical, and that's something that you can't expect people to follow. So I'm not going to help you stop being angry, but instead, I feel like a better first step is to realize when you're angry and then know how to properly react to it. You know, when we get angry, what's really happening is that we're just in a really highly emotional state. We tend to let our emotions cloud our judgment. And that can cause us not to respond in the most appropriate way. For myself, for example, I always struggled being a very impulsive person. So whenever I'd get angry, it would tie into that in the sense that I would just say impulsively the first thing that came to my mind. And when you're angry, that's not typically the nicest thing. What this would end up happening is it would end up leading to a lot of the people I cared about getting hurt by my words. And that's the last thing I wanted. So what I did is I turned to the Bible and I tried to really drill its answers into my head. Specifically, there was this one passage from James. I'd read it multiple times a day because it spoke so truly to my situation. Therefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man works not the righteousness of God. Therefore, put away all filthiness and extreme wickedness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. James is telling the faithful a few different things here. He's recommending modesty and prudence in their discourses, to be more fond of listening than of speaking. Having the ability to be slow to speak helps us so much. It helps us to pause and take a step back and look at this situation more objectively. That pause means so much when you're angry. And it's something that helped me and stopped me from just being impulsive. The other part, being quick to listen or swift to hear, is a very, very, very important part. By listening and not just hearing the other person, but truly listening to what they have to say, it helps us understand that, the person we're having discourse with, their words might mean something completely different than what we're interpreting them as. When we're angry, we tend to jump to the conclusion that the person in front of us is saying something that could be mean or reviling against us. But in truth, it might be completely different from that. Quick pause, but it looks like it just started to rain, which I'm not complaining at all for, because I absolutely love hiking in the rain. It just feels so nice. And it's not too cold either, so makes it really enjoyable. So taking those pauses to be slow to speak and taking the time to instinctively be quick to hear and listen to what the person's actually trying to say. When you're angry, both are much easier said than done. It's something I really struggled with, especially at the start. So if it's something you're really finding hard to do at the beginning, I recommend just stepping away from the situation as a whole. Whether it be whatever you're angry at or whomever you're angry at, take the time to just, when you're in the heat of the moment, just separate yourself from it. And dealing with it when you're the most hot-headed is gonna be the most difficult thing to do, because that's when you're not thinking the straightest at all. So just try to step away. Lastly, what this passage is saying is that you should return, or you should receive with meekness the engrafted word. Now, I think this is the last important step, right? Being slow to anger involves being quick to listen and slow to speak. Once you have those two down, you're able to properly address the situation. But it's not necessarily going to make your anger go away. That's just to stop you from doing something stupid. The most important part is to then receive the word. The Bible is so full of examples of Jesus and other figures always trying to do the right thing. There's Proverbs, there's Psalms indicating how anger can make us feel, how our wrath can lead us to making poor decisions. So that's why I recommend reading the Bible, looking at those examples and learning from them. The other most important thing, the thing that I would say ultimately helps me most, is praying. When we're angry, sometimes we often feel that no one understands us. The person that we're discording with doesn't understand us. And this could lead us to getting even more angry. But there is one person who always will understand you, and that's Jesus. Pray to him. Pray to God. It will help you like crazy, right? He understands you best. It's better to rant to him and get your frustrations out with him than it is to harm another person. Jesus can take your suffering, your anger, your frustrations,
always cast it towards him instead of the other person. He'll be able to understand you. And that's what helps so much, feeling that you are understood. There's a Proverbs quote that really kind of speaks to this, right? A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger quiets contention. And again, I want you to remember that whatever or whomever you're angry with, these are passing feelings. These are passing emotions. Your anger will fade, right? Don't get caught up in it. It's one of the things that can really destroy relationships. Seek the counsel of Christ. Follow his will, and you're going to be okay. On the other hand, if you feel angry all of the time throughout your day, that kind of plays to a different scenario. And what I'm covering in this video might not be deep enough to help you with your issue. Because in that case, it's not just anger that's an issue for you, it's lack of peace. And it's peace is what you need. Again, throughout the Bible and prayer, there's plenty of ways to help you work towards finding peace, but that's a topic for a different day. I'm hoping to cover it in a future video. You know, lastly, I just want you guys to try your best. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. And don't expect changes immediately, especially if you really struggle with anger. This is something that does take time. But as long as you're trying your best, and as long as you're reflecting, this can really help you grow. Every time you do get angry in the future, because it will happen, reflect on the situation, reflect on what's happening, and reflect on how you dealt with it, right? And then ask yourself, what can I do differently next time? You guys got this. It's tough, but you guys got this. One more thing, either in the comments or the description, I'm going to attach a prayer that I would pray daily every morning that really helped me out when I was struggling with anger and impulsivity. So I'll attach that for you guys. Give it a read. If it's something that really speaks to you, I really recommend adding it to your daily prayer list. Got about 1 kilometer left in my hike till I'm back at my car. So folks, just wanted to wrap up this video. I hope you all to some degree found it instructive and helpful. Hope to make many more of these videos in the future. Until next time, God bless.